Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the IMAGIN Webinar Series. My name is Thomas Van Bruggen. I'm the president of IMAGIN, and with us today is Shanna Martucci from the state of Michigan, Michigan State Police Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division. And she'll be presenting and sharing with us her experience on building the COVID dashboard that so many of us have seen over the past year and a half, roughly. And so we want to thank her for joining us. But before we get into her presentation, I have a few slides that I just want to go through and just thank first our sponsors. So continuing as sponsors for us during this IMAGIN webinar series is Giffords Webster, BSNA Software, Hubble, Roth and Clark, and Fishbeck Engineering. And again, those four sponsors have been just great supporters of IMAGIN, not just this year, but over many years. And they can help you out with many of your GIS needs if you need some consulting work or assistance with your data. So make sure to check those out and also thank them for being a sponsor to help us be able to bring you these webinars. With that, I want to just mention right off the bat a couple of upcoming events, and I'll mention these again at the end, but our next online meetings will be our IMAGIN Geo Roundtable. On Tuesday, August 17th, we're going to be talking about spatial views within GIS. So at one of our past webinars, there was a hint at spatial views, and then we talked about it also during one of our previous roundtables, talking about some scripting and processes. Well, on August 17th, we'll talk about spatial views. So several of us that have used those will be able to share our experiences, and we'll have an open discussion on that on August 17th. And then our fifth episode of season 2 for webinar series will be on Thursday, August 26th, and it'll be Smoothing Bumps in the Path to GISP Certification, presented by Magdalena DeFranco and Scott Swan. So make sure to mark that on your calendar. We'll be getting emails out about those as well. A couple of housekeeping items before we kick things off is that if you have any questions, use the chat or questions box as appropriate, depending on your browser and your viewer. And then either during the middle or for sure at the end, we will present those questions to Shanna and have her address any questions you may have about the dashboards. We are recording the webinar, so we'll post this in about a week, sometime early next week. Hopefully we'll have the video recording all formatted up and be able to share out to you. And then again, make sure to check out our website for more information on our webinar series. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand presentation mode over to Shanna.
Okay, good morning. Are you able to see my presentation screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so like Thomas said, my name is Shanna Martucci. I'm with the Michigan State Police Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division. So today I'm going to go over my COVID-19 dashboard, kind of behind the scenes, how it's updated, and a little bit into that. So here's the agenda. We'll go over the dashboard background. I'll do a walkthrough of the web map that's attached to it and the dashboard itself, explain the update procedure, talk about ArcGIS Maps for Office, which is a tool that we use frequently here at EMHSD. I'll do a quick demo of the dashboard itself and then take any questions. So for the background, the State Emergency Operations Center, or the SEOC, was activated for COVID in February 28th, 2020. Then the first version of the dashboard was actually created on March 11th. At the beginning of this incident, is what we call it here in EMHSD, it was difficult to kind of coordinate data. So I was pulling a lot of data from public dashboards, like the Johns Hopkins one that I'm sure a lot of people have seen, and a couple other public ones. But by April of last year, data was being regularly disseminated by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services daily, and they send it daily in a spreadsheet form. And up until September of 2020, the dashboard was actually being updated 7 days a week by myself and my colleague Nakia Anderson. And then by September, they bumped it down to just 6 days a week. And as of 2 weeks ago, I believe it is now being updated twice a week, which is Tuesdays and Fridays. Going on to the next slide. So the COVID-19 cases per million layer, which was a layer requested by MDHHS for us to create for them. So that's feeded directly to the Michigan coronavirus webpage, which is the image you can see there on your left. And we have that one layer and it feeds the My COVID webpage, but it also feeds our dashboard. So currently the dashboard has about 1.3 million views, and it's still getting a few hundred to a few thousand views per day. So now I'll just run through a demo of the dashboard currently. So first I'll start with the web map. So the web map here just shows the total cases per county. Like I said, MDHHS wanted the cases per million, but we didn't want to display our dashboard in that way, so we still kept it as cases per million. So this public web map that we use has all the layers that we'll need for our dashboard. I like to put all the layers that I use in a dashboard in one place to make loading widgets on the dashboard a lot easier. But I have all the extra layers down here hidden from the legend and pop-ups, so that way it doesn't distract from the map in itself. So on this map, we have the cases per million layer, which, like I said, shows the total cases per county. We have the political boundaries, which is the counties. Then we have our active cases, new cases, cases growth, and then a slew of demographic information. So moving over to the dashboard, this was last updated on Tuesday with MDHHS's update for Tuesday. So when you open it, you'll see the total cases count indicator widget here on the left. Then we have the total recovered with some text supplied from MDHHS explaining how they determine recovered cases. Then we have our widget for the total deaths. And then I add a rich text widget here that just shows the death summary for the average age, median age, and then the age range. Then at the bottom, we have our last update text, which, like I said, was Tuesday at 3 p.m. Over here, we have a chart of the total cases graphed against the total deaths. Down here is all the demographic data. So MDHHS reports all of the demographic data in the percentage of cases, not the total cases. So here we have the percentage of cases by age. Then you can kind of navigate through. So you see the percentage of deceased by age, percentage of cases by sex, percent of deceased by sex, percent of deceased by race, percentage of cases by race, and then we have Hispanic and Arabic labeled out on its own. So up here we have our web map. We also have a couple others. So we have cumulative deaths mapped by county, and then we have our new cases by county and our new deaths by county. So at the bottom we have a chart showing our cases per day. So I'll expand this one. So I added the slider bar feature up here to all of these as there is so much data in here. So that way you can kind of narrow it down if you want to see a specific time frame. And then you can kind of look at trends. Tabbing over, I have the deaths per day. So you'll kind of see the up and down spike here. So a couple times a week, MDHHS reports the vital record reporting. So that just identifies COVID as a contributing factor for death, and that's matched against positive cases in the Michigan disease surveillance system. And then death corrections are made. So since that happens a few times a week, right now I believe it's just on Tuesdays, you'll kind of see the random up and down as deaths are corrected. And then last week here is our active cases. So initially they weren't reporting any recovered. So by April of 2020, they started reporting recovered cases. And that's only updated once a week. So that's why we have the weird spikes here every week. So that was being reported on Saturdays, but now that they are no longer reporting data on the weekends, it is reported out on Tuesdays. So that's why you'll see the spike as the day goes on. This one also has the slider, so that way you can kind of take a look to a specific time frame that you're interested in. And then the last two widgets I have here are my list widgets. which lists the cases by county and the deaths by county. I have them sorted from highest cases and highest deaths down to lowest. So you can kind of scroll through, and I make this one a little interactive. So if someone's looking and they don't know where a specific county is, they can click to zoom in, and then that pulls up all the information in the pop-up so you can see the total cases, total deaths, the population of that county, and then the cases per million. For the current update procedure, like I said, MDHHS sends us the report, which was daily, so now it's twice a week, either between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. Once I get that, they like the update to be done at least by 3 p.m. So I take the data there. The data that's included in that changed over time, so the dashboard itself kind of changed over time. But what I do is I take the total cases and total deaths data off of that, and I put it into our cases per million file. And we were using ArcGIS Maps for Office with this initially, but as we use it frequently and we use it while we're VPNing and we use it on a shared drive, it can be a little bit glitchy. So there were times that we did the update and it changed the county shapes to triangles. So to kind of correct that issue so it didn't happen again, we use the update data feature on ArcGIS Online, and what that does is it replaces all the data that's in the layer with the new data for that day. So like I said, that data feeds directly to the Michigan coronavirus webpage, but also our dashboard. So once I complete that, our web map and their web map is updated. So after that, I move to the cases growth layer. So that one has data for total cases, new deaths, and total deaths. And that feeds into a couple widgets. And then since active cases is something that we didn't get information for till later, that's its own layer. And active cases are calculated taking the total number of cases, and then I subtract out the total deaths and the number of recovered. And like I said, the recovered is updated once a week. So once that's updated, the last two layers are doing the new cases and then all of the demographic data. So I'll do a quick look of ArcGIS Maps for Office. So those who are unfamiliar, it's an extension that you can download onto Excel or PowerPoint. And seeing in the first picture here, this is what the toolbar looks like, and all it does is add an extra tab there, which is ArcGIS Maps. So we use this for a couple different layers in our dashboard. And as long as you have the data saved as a table, you can actually add new features and edit existing features from there. So when you're on that tab, you can see there's a sign out option once you're signed in. You can add a map, go to map, arrange them, and then kind of link map views. So here's a screenshot of what the map looks like. So once you open that, the map will open. This is a screenshot of our map for all the demographic data. So you can see all of the layers that we have here with the ethnicity and race. So if you would actually, using the application, if you hover over the layer, a settings gear will pop up. When you select that, you'll get this pop up here. So there you can rename it to show the name in the map itself. You can actually change the symbology, create labels, and do some minor analysis. When you're ready, you'll hit the update layer button on the side. It'll open up a new window, and from there you'll name it, you'll tag it, you can add a summary. From there you can choose how you're going to share it as well. So like I said, this program can be a little glitchy if you're using it in a shared drive or through VPN, but it has shown useful, and it is a big time saver because you don't have to geocode when you do this. It has built-in stuff, and you can also add your own as well. So after we had the incident where it mapped the counties as triangles, we added our own Michigan County layer to it, and that's helped and kind of corrected the issue. So now I'll run through a quick demo building out the dashboard. So here's a blank dashboard that I created for today. So the first step that I do in building a dashboard, we prefer to use the dark mode. It's just kind of a little bit easier on the eyes. So you can change that up here at the top. So we just go with dark. Now I'll add the header. So whatever you name the dashboard as, it will kind of just populate it there. But if you want to change it, you can just do put it in the title. So I'll just do COVID dashboard. You can add a subtitle as well, kind of change the colors. Then if you want to add your logo, we have a link that we paste our EMHSD logo here, or you can actually use one of the icons built in. So whatever you want, you can kind of add. And then when you're ready, you can hit done, and that's up at the top. So next I will add the map. So it will load up all the maps that you have. So I'm just going to search for our dashboard map. So here it is, the COVID-19 dashboard data web map. So normally I like to turn all of these features on, so that way it's interactive for the user. Then you can see the name of the web map that's given, and you can add a title if you want. So I will do cases per county, and you can add a description which shows up at the bottom. And then you'll hit done when you're ready, and the web map will load. So next I'll do an indicator. So I will show you the total cases indicator. So that, like I said, is in the cases growth layer. So initially it will just load and show you the total number of items in that layer. For how this is configured, we filter it by date, and then we select a value, and it was last updated on the 20th. And then under value type, we're just going to do the sum of the positive cases. With Operations Dashboard recent update, it kind of simplifies it with the 898.6K. So to get rid of that, if you go to the indicator tab down here at value formatting, you'll hit edit, and then you just turn off unit prefix. Then I'll go back up to the top text, and I'll title it total cases. I'll change it to red here, and then I'll also change the number color. And then you can add icons here, so you can see all the predetermined ones that you can choose from. You can do custom ones if you want, but just select an icon that kind of fits with it. And then I'll hit done. So everything always loads in on the left. And then you can resize it how you want. So next I'll do an indicator for deaths. It's also on the cases growth layer. So in that layer, I have total deaths per day, but then I also have new deaths. So this one's a little bit easier to configure. So I'll just do the sum of deaths, and it will show that. So again, I want to turn off the decimal point and actually see the whole number. And then I'll do deaths, change it to a darker color, and then add a icon to the left, so kind of scroll through. Sometimes certain ones that you're looking for can be hard to find because they're not in a particular order. So I'll just select that one again. Pick the matching gray. So to move them around, you just kind of hover over where it says drag item, and I want it to go under this one, so I just kind of hover there, and they snap together. So next I will do the cumulative cases and death graph. So that one's under the serial chart widget. So again, that's the cases growth layer. So I'm going to do it category field by date. Actually, for this one, I'm going to do features and then by date, and then I'll add the series of positive cases and death. So to change how it's displayed, I will go to the value actually down to the series tab. So here you can see the positive cases and total deaths. So rather than having them stacked, if I want it as a line, I'll select that and it will change the shape, and I'll do the same for the deaths. And then to change the color, I'll make this one red and scroll down and make the deaths a dark gray. Then if you go to the general tab, you can add a title. So this one's cumulative cases and deaths. Hit done, and again, it will kind of load here. If I want to hover over, I want this one to be the left of the map, so I'll just drag it and drop it there. So next, I will do the age serial chart. So I want to go down to age demographics, category field of age group, and then for the statistic, I'll just do the sum of the percentage since MDHHS reports it as a percentage. You can see through the age groups the percentage of cases. If I go down to the series, if I don't want it to be a solid fill, I can kind of drag this to make it more opaque and make the line thickness a little bit thicker. You can change the color by category if you want, or you can leave it a single color and change it that way. If I want it to show the labels, I can turn them on here and then add a title using the same method before, cases by age, and then I'll hit done. And I'll drag this one under the other graph. And I can kind of resize things however I want from there. Next, I'll do a pie chart of the race data. So I just want to go to the cases and deaths by race. So the category field, I want it to be race. And then the sum of overall cases by race. So if I go to the slices tab, you can see all the different colors. You can apply the colors in a preset one that Esri provides, but you can also change them individually to whatever you want them to be. So let's go with purples here. If I go up to the chart tab, if I don't like where all of those are labeled, I can change the start angle to kind of move everything around if I want. You also don't have to keep it as a regular chart. You can kind of make it into a donut by changing the size of the inner radius. And if I would rather have a legend than kind of have them hovering, I can hide that and then just go down to the legend here and show the value or the percentage there. And then again, you can give it a name. So this is cases by race. And then when you're done, you'll hit done. So I want these stacked, so I'm going to drag it over and kind of hover over the age graph and just stack it there. So with only two, you can kind of change it. So this can be cases by age, and then cases by race. And then as you stack more and more, you'll get the scroll tab of what you see in the current dashboard. So next, I will add another serial chart for the active cases. So I want the category field of date, and then the sum of active cases. And you'll see the shape that we had in my dashboard. Go down to series, change the color. We'll make this one red. And then if I go up to category axis, that's where you can actually add the scroll bar. So using category and value axis, you can add titles to both of them and kind of change the orientation and everything else. And under the chart options, you can change the direction you want it to go as well, but I'll keep it vertical and then give it a title, active cases. Then it will load. So then I want this one to go under the web map, so I'll just kind of drag it there. So there are multiple ways to stack things. So if you want them to be connected without the space, what you'll want to do, kind of hover over it, hold down the shift key, and then you can place them together, and that just gets rid of the gap, kind of makes it a little bit more uniform. Okay, and then the last widget I will add is the list widget. So I'll go add the list, and I will do the COVID cases per million. So I'll just change that to 250. Then I'll go down to list. So using this feature here, you can select what you want to add. So I'll do the county name, and then underneath it, I will do total cases. If you don't want that to be displayed, you can just hit none. And then from here, you can change the text color as well. So if I want that to be a different color gray and I want that to be red, I can change it there, and I can also change it change the size. So if I want this to interact with the map, so what I can do is go down to the Actions tab and add action. So I can do a filter. So I can filter the map, maybe show the pop-up. I can also flash and pan and zoom. You can actually do all of them, and then I just want to select which layer. So if it has the little check mark there, it shows what layer it can interact with. And then you can just kind of go through and select. Go back to the General tab, and I'll add a title. This is by county. And then I can drag this one all the way over to the left, and then kind of resize it to how I want. And then when you select different counties, it will flash, pan, zoom, and show the pop-up after you select it. And that's kind of the basics of the COVID dashboard. And now I'll open it up for any questions.
Thank you, Shanna. Couple of questions. One, first question came in is, do all of the other charts on the page of the dashboard update if a specific county is selected? And you kind of started to show that a little bit in what you were just building.
We didn't add the filter for the whole, for each county from the dashboard, but that's something that you can add. I can actually show that really quickly. So if you wanted to add a filter, the easiest way is to do it from the header. So you can go down and do add category selector. And I want to do the cases per million. And then I can do group values and do a county. And then from there, I'll just make it 500 so you see all the counties. And then when you go to actions, you can filter and then select all the widgets that you wanted to interact with, and then kind of go from there. But since a lot of these aren't fed through the same layer, since how we got our information is not super concise, it wouldn't be as clean as a dashboard normally would be.
Okay. And then I've got a couple of questions coming for me. So the data you're updating on a, sounds like now a couple of times a week basis, comes from DHHS, and then are they just simply sending you tabular or a spreadsheet of information, and then you or your other staff members have to actually, I'll say, key that in or replicate that data, or is there any automation to the actual data transfer that you're using?
No, right now we are just kind of copying it all over. We didn't automate anything.
Okay. I know, and I did put a couple of links to the most recent dashboards that Muskegon County has done, that my GIS tech, Nate, and I have done. And we have been able to automate that data exchange. So we actually have a series of files that our health department updates. And then through some scripting processes, just every 30 minutes, I think it is, it rereads the spreadsheet. So if they updated at 9 o'clock at night, at the next half-hour interval, it can automate. So that's made our lives a lot easier because I don't have to manually update what they send me every day. We thankfully were able to do that very early on. So the next question that I'd have is, so pretty much the main design of your dashboard has been similar since the first time I saw it, which was early on in the process. Small tweaks here and there as they've come about. Any thought towards I'm going to say a complete redesign, or has there been any discussion about integration of vaccine-based data, other metrics that you'd want to add into there?
So I can actually pull it up. I will. We do have a hub page. So with there, we have a couple different dashboards. And we recently stopped updating the vaccine page, vaccine dashboard. We kind of monitor the views as we slowly move away from COVID as our response. But I will pull up our hub page, and that kind of has a bunch of different dashboards that we have. As far as a redesign of our current dashboard, potentially, I think once COVID is a thing of the past, maybe we can reorganize what's in there to show more of a summary of what the pandemic was like. But right now, I think we'll just kind of keep it as is. But here the hub page is loading. So this is my first time using Hub when I was creating this, so it's still kind of an exploratory thing, but we have the title here. Once it loads, I've embedded the COVID dashboard. So the COVID dashboard's embedded there. And then we have a link. So I did a couple time series ones. So this one's animated, kind of shows the cases over time. And then we have a cumulative cases and deaths one, and then we have a new cases and deaths by county dashboard. We have a hospital one that's now updated about once a week that shows hospital capacity, and then our vaccine one. And then we just kind of have various information in here from Esri's COVID page, and then some links to Michigan resources.
Okay, so a lot of it's transitioning into the overall hub response now to kind of get other and additional information, not so much a change into your existing dashboard. So
yeah,
nice way to do that too. Good. Another question back to the dashboard is, how do you get the percentage to show when changing the size of your widgets?
So the percentage of the pie graph, I'm assuming.
It doesn't say, but we'll see if Nate, who asked that question, adds that in. Sometimes what happens though is when your percentage, when you resize it, obviously, and that's a limitation of some of the dashboard widgets, is when you resize different ways, a lot of times some of the way it automatically, I'll say, labels, I think some of the things get in the way, or it starts truncating them off. And I'm not sure if that's where he's coming from, but.
Yeah, so looking at if you can see the widget on my screen now, so there's not too much you can do, because like for me, initially I was building it on my small laptop screen, but my colleague would edit it in the SCOC on a larger screen. So if we were each taking screenshots for the daily situational report, the widgets looked a little bit different because of that. I mean, one way that can kind of help, if you do the start angle and you can kind of position them maybe in a more friendly way, and then that might be able to help. But yeah, there's not too much you can do, especially since you don't know what size screen the user is going to be accessing it from.
Okay, good, thanks. Another question, Carrie asks, as we rolled out some dashboard changes a couple of months ago that automatically took effect when you saved the dashboard, was your dashboard affected by those changes?
I didn't notice anything different. It kind of saved all my configurations how it was, which was helpful. But I did have to look at some of the new ways things were updated before I built the demo today, since they were different than when I first configured the dashboard.
And I know when I first saw those Esri rollouts, my dashboards also did not get affected. I didn't have any, I'll say breaking changes or anything that was using something that would be a breaking change. But I know that there were some dashboards that did have some issues when that was happening. So. Well, again, thank you, Shanna. I believe that's the last of the questions that have come in. If you have a last minute question, feel free to type that in yet. But I'm going to go ahead and take presentation mode back here. And again, Shanna, thank you so much for sharing your experience with building the dashboard. I know so many of us have used that since we have been going through this whole COVID pandemic. Again, I think we're all hopeful that this continues to wind down. But we keep striving in that right direction. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody that has questions additionally on the dashboard, send them to us at Imagine. We can get them to Shanna, and we can make sure that she is able to respond to those. But again, thank you for that presentation, Shanna.